My dear students, how do you do? This is Practical Agriculture for JS2. I'm your Agric Madam, Nwana Kukbe. Today we want to look at farming system. Farming system. That is the topic for today. Last time we talked about cropping system. We look at cropping system as the system in which various crops are grown by farmers in various farms. It can be single, can be one after the other, or mixed cropping. We go ahead and mention type of cropping system. Mention monocropping, crop rotation, multiple cropping, and advantages and disadvantages for each type. So today we want to look at farming system. Farming system. Under farming system, we have definition of farming system, type of farming system. That is what we have under farming system. Definition of farming system, types of farming system. First of all, let's look at what is farming system. What is farming system? Farming system refers to the farmer, the farm, the types of crops growing, the livestock raised, and technology adopted in farming operations. Yes, refers to the farmer. It can be me or you if you want to be a farmer. It can be you or me. The farm, the type of farm that you want to plant, can be subsistent or commercial. The type of crops growing, the type of crops that you want to practice, yes, can be cassava, yam, and so on. And the livestock raised and the technology adopted in farming operation, the type of technology that you want to adopt in this type of farming operation. Okay, that is what farming system, the definition of farming system. Okay, let's look at type of farming system. Type of farming system. The different system of farming in Nigeria are mixed farming. Let's look at what is mixed farming. This is a farming system in which a farmer grows crops and raises animals on the same farm. I will take that again. This is a farming system in which a farmer grows crops and raises animals on the same farm. Yes, it's a system in which the farmer grows crop on that same of farm, also raise animal on the same farm. Okay, you can see with this diagram, we have the animals and also we have what? Crops on the same piece of land. We call it what? Mixed farming. Mixed farming is the word in which the farmer grows crops and raise animals on the same farm that you have. Just like a piece of land that you have, you grow crops and also raise animal on that same farm. Look at the picture of animal, you can see the cattle, and also look at the crops on the same farm. We call it what? Mixed farming. We call it mixed farming. All right, let's under mixed farming, we have advantages and disadvantages. Okay, we have advantages and disadvantages. First of all, let's look at advantages of mixed farming. Advantages of mixed farming. Farm produce such as crop residues and fodders are used for feeding farm animals. Yes, because you mix animals with crops. So that crop residues like kitchen waste, we talked about that under organic manure. Yes, those kitchen waste like what? Plantain peelings, cassava peeling, you can use that to feed your farm animals. All right, that is number one advantages of mixed farming. Let's look at another advantages of mixed farming, which is animal dropping are used as manure to improve soil fertility. Animal dropping are used as manure to improve what? Soil fertility. Those animal dropping, for example, the cow dung, poultry litter, that is sawdust from the poultry house. And then we have the poultry waste. Yes, as used as what? Manure to improve what? Soil fertility. Yes, in case you don't have money. Manure, since it's what? Mixed farming, you use the animal dropping to improve the soil fertility. Now let's look at disadvantages of mixed farming. Disadvantages of what? Mixed farming. Number one disadvantage here is if the animals are not properly managed, they can eat all what? Crops. You can see that diagram. In the piece of land that you have, you put what? Animals. Also do what? Cultivate crops. So if that animal is not properly managed by the farmers, they will eat up what? Crops. All right. Now let's look at another disadvantages of mixed farming. Number two is the farmers must be knowledgeable in both crops and animal husbandry. Yes, you have to look for the farmer must be trained to control both crops and animals. Okay, we have done with mixed farming. We look at what is mixed farming, advantages and disadvantages of mixed farming. All right, let's look at another type of farming system, which is what? Bush fallowing. Bush fallowing, or we call it shifting cultivation. Let's look at what is bush fallowing. This refers to the system whereby a plot of land is left to fallow for 2 to 4 years after cultivation. It can be 3 to 5 years after what? Cultivation. That is what bush fallowing or shifting cultivation. The system whereby a plot of land is left to fallow for 2 to 4 years after cultivation. Look at the picture here. This is a picture of what? Bush fallowing, bush fallow vegetation with trees and grasses. This is what will happen when you leave your farmland to 3 to 5 years or 2 to 5 years after cultivation. Look at the diagram of what? Bush fallow. We call it crop rotation or what? Rotational farming. Okay, let's look at advantages of bush fallowing. Advantages of bush fallowing. Okay, advantages of bush fallowing or shifting cultivation. Number one here is it is natural and does not involve large cash investment. Yes, leaving your farmland to 2 to 4 years or 3 to 5 years. Those falling leaves will decay and add nutrient to the soil. There's no need of buying what? Fertilizer. So it doesn't need what? Large cash investment. Yes. Another one is the plant cover helps to check erosion. Look at the picture. The land will turn to what? Bushes. The farmland will turn to bushes. So therefore it will not allow the flood to enter the farmland because it's covered with what? With plants. Okay, let's look at disadvantages of bush fallowing. Disadvantages of bush fallowing or disadvantages of shifting cultivation. We call it bush fallowing or shifting cultivation. Number one disadvantage here is much time, energy and money are spent in preparation of new farmland. Look at the picture. Everywhere is turn to forest. For you to go and prepare that farmland, it needs time, energy and money will be spent for preparing of what? The new farmland. Yes. Another one is what? It's wasteland. Leaving your farmland to 3 to 5 years. 2 to 4 years. It's waste of land. In case you practice subsistence agriculture, what will you do? You will have money to go and buy what? Another land. So it's what? It waste land. Remember, you are still on what? Farming system. Type of farming system. We talked about mixed farming. Number one type of farming system, mixed farming. We look at advantages and disadvantages. And number two is what? Bush fallowing or shifting cultivation. We look at the divination of bush fallowing advantages and disadvantages. Now let's look at another type of farming system. Okay, which is what? Pastoral farming. Yes, or we call it pastoral heading. Pastoral farming or pastoral heading. Let's look at what is pastoral farming. This refers to the rearing of grazing animals like cattle, sheep, and goats. Yes, you can see this picture. This is cattle. grazing in the field. The animals are not restricted in building but allowed to roam and graze in the field. Yes, in agriculture we have what we call extensive system, we have semi-intensive, then we have intensive system. Just examples of what semi-intensive. The farmer will allow the animal to do what? To roam and graze in the field. Yes. It is not restricted in building, but allow it to search for what? Green pasture in the field. That is what pastoral farming. You can see this picture. We have the cattle grazing in the field, and then we have type of pastoral farming or pastoral herding. Yes, let's look at type of pastoral farming or pastoral herding. There are three types of pastoral farming. Number one is nomadic farming. Number two is lay farming, and number three is ranching. Those are the three types of pastoral farming: nomadic farming, lay farming, and ranching. Let's look at one after the other. Let's start with number one, nomadic farming or nomads. Nomadic farming. Let's look at what is nomadic farming. The nomads are found in the Fulani tribes of northern Nigeria, and they work with their grazing animals, especially cattle, from one place to another in search of what? Green pasture and water for their animals. Yes, that is the work of what? The headmen. You will see all these Fulani people moving with their cattle from one place to another. Yes, they can move from north down to the south. Yes, in search of what? Food for their animal. That is what nomadic farming, or we call it nomads. You see cattle with headmen working with their cattle from one place to another, especially cattle from one place to another in search of green pasture and water for their animal. Now let's look at advantages of nomadic farming. Okay, number one here is a variety of palatable pasture is provided as animals move from one place to another. Yes, since they are moving from one place to another, they will eat different type of pasture. Yes, different type of grasses. You know what is pasture? Different type of grasses. Yes, will be provided for the animal. Since they move from one place to another, it's not something that they will go and stay. They will go and stay one place. They move from one place to another in search of what? Food for the animal. So they will eat different variety of what? Pasture. Okay, the second one, it ensures a constant food supply for the animal without the farmer laboring to establish what? Pastures. They are moving from one place to another. They will eat different. They ensure what? Constant food supply for the food without what? Farmers looking for pasture or establish what? Pasture. Okay, let's look at disadvantages. Disadvantages of nomadic farming. Number one here is they often destroy crops along their routes, and this causes problems for the headmen. You have heard of headmen everywhere. Fulani headmen from one state to another. Since they are moving from one place to another, they will destroy people crops along their routes, and this causes what? Problem for the headmen, because they have not stayed in one place. They are moving with their cattle from one place to another. They destroy people crops. They cause a lot of problems for the headmen. Okay, let's look at another disadvantages. There is usually a high incidence of pests and disease since the farmers do not make any effort to control them. Yes, they will attack by what? Pests and disease. Since there is no farmers do not make any effort to control them, they will attack. Those animals will attack by pests and disease. Okay, now let's look at another type of pastoral farming. We have done with what? Nomadic farming. We look at advantages and disadvantages. Number two type of pastoral farming is what? Lay farming. Let's look at what is lay farming. This refers to the system of farming whereby pastures and crops are combined together on the same plot of land. Yes, the plot of land that you have, you do what? You have pasture and also plant crops on the same plot of land. Yes, the pasture is growing for about 4 years and then the land is tilled and used to cultivate crops. It is also called what? Rotational pasture. A piece of land that you have, you combine what? You combine pasture with crops. Yes, what you do, the pasture, you allow the pasture to grow for about 4 years or 3 years. Then you till the land to cultivate crops on that same piece of land. It is also called rotational pasture. Yes, in that piece of land that you have, you use it for pasture and also grow what? Crops on that same piece of land. Okay, now let's look at advantages of lay farming. I hope you are with me. Please don't sleep. Okay, let's look at advantages of lay farming. Number one here is animal dropping serve as manure since they are mixed together. So those animal dropping from the cow dung, poultry waste will serve as what? Manure, since they are staying together. Another one is crop residues are used for feeding the farm animal. Imagine those crop residues. I've mentioned here that those crop residues like plantain peeling, those fallen leaves will serve as what? Manure and food for the animal. Crop residues are used for feeding the animal. Okay, now let's look at disadvantages of lay farming. Disadvantages of lay farming. Okay, number one here is overgrazing can lead to destruction of soil structure, leading to erosion. You remember we talked about the soil structure in your JS1? Yes, this overgrazing, too much grazing animal, when you keep in one place for so long, it will lead to what? Soil structure, and this will cause what? Erosion. Okay, that is disadvantages of lay farming. Overgrazing can lead to destruction of soil structure, leading to erosion. Too much of overgrazing will lead your farmland to erosion because they will stand one place, graze at that particular point. It will destroy the soil structure, lead it to erosion. Okay, let's look at number two, disadvantages of lay farming. Number two is high cost of fencing. Yes, high cost of fencing. In case you want to divide them, it will cost money. It will take you a lot of money to fence round. Okay, now let's look at another type of pastoral farming. Another type of pastoral farming. This one is ranching. Ranching. I hope you have heard of Obudu cattle ranch before. Okay, maybe when you come back, they will prepare yourself for Obudu cattle ranch. Okay, this is number three type of pastoral farming, which is what? Ranching. Let's look at what is ranching here. This refers to the system which involves the rearing of animals on a large, expensive of fenced land, as in Obudu cattle ranch. I will take that again. This refers to the system which involves the rearing of animals on a large expanse of fenced land, as in Obudu cattle land. That is a white land. Yes, very white land. Yes, as in Obudu cattle land. Let's look at advantages of ranching. Advantages of ranching. Number one here is the animals are better managed and more protected from pests, disease, and death. Yes, they have trained personnel. They have trained personnel. Those extension workers, those are the people that are working there. So since the animals are better managed, it will protect the animal from what? Pests, disease, and death. Okay, that one is pasture. Animal produce what? More milk. All this milk that you are taking. So maybe they will say cream milk is from a pasture animal. Yes, because they are eating good pasture, they will produce what? More milk. Yes, remember we talked about animal feeding in your JS2, that your animal needs what? Food. So when you have given your animal good food, they will produce what? The product, the byproduct from it will be very good. Just like this one, pasture animal produce what? More milk, because they have pasture over there. Okay, now let's look at disadvantages of ranching. Disadvantages of ranching. Number one disadvantage is it requires a large area of land. Yes, requires a large area of land for you to practice this type of pastoral farming or type of farming system. This ranching, it needs a large area of land to practice this type of ranching. Okay, another one is it requires trained personnel to manage ranch. Yes, just extension workers, those extension staff to manage the ranch. Okay, all right, before we go, remember we talked about farming system. We look at the definition of farming system. We mentioned type of farming system, mixed farming, pastoral farming. We go ahead and mention type of pastoral farming, lay farming, ranching, and nomadic farming. And the last type of farming system is bush fallowing or shifting cultivation. Before we go, please take down this assignment. I have assignments here for you. Number one here is differentiate between mixed farming and mixed cropping. Yes, we talked about cropping system last time. You will see a difference between mixed cropping and mixed farming. Number two is list and explain three types of farming system. List and explain three types of farming system. And the last one is state two advantages of mixed farming. Please read your books. Do this assignment. I will mark it when you come back. Stay safe.